Hi everyone, my name is Brittany Campagne. I'm a Bachelor of Science Zoology student from UBCO. I am the Community Engagement and Outreach Coordinator for Cats and Birds at the Stewardship Center of BC. So we'd like to acknowledge that I am on the traditional and unceded territories of the Syilx Okanagan people, and we appreciate our land. So I'm going to define the Cats and Birds program a little bit more. The Cats and Birds program is a nonprofit program from the Stewardship Center of BC that works together to make BC a safer place for cats, birds, and other wildlife. We do this through collaborative outreach by working with groups such as the SPCA and the Okanagan Humane Society to distribute educational materials and seminars. We collect data from communities and create beneficial game plans for cats and birds and their safety through research. We do work with veterinary clinics to educate their patrons about the dangers of owning an outdoor cat and how they can prevent issues with dangers from outside. We also create resources and resource availability to the public, so that way they're able to problem solve things like getting their cat spayed or medical attention. So the cats and birds issue. Outdoor cats face life-threatening dangers while outside unsupervised. They also pose a very large risk to urban wildlife and backyard birds and their ecosystems. We'll have a few slides coming up about how that is affected. The public can help protect against backyard bird decline and also improve the welfare of their cats by making a few simple steps that we're going to outline. And that way you can keep your cat happy and healthy while also indoors. Throughout collaborative partnerships with people like you, we can raise awareness and provide education and take action against wildlife loss and improve cat welfare in BC. So why is conserving birds so important? Conserving birds is very important because they help contribute to the biodiversity and assist in the ecosystems in many different ways. A large part of this is seed dispersal. Many seed-eating birds contribute to the flora and fauna tree growth. They also help largely in pest management by eating insects that would eat plants and seeds. So a few facts coming up. There has been an overall net loss of 2.9 billion birds across all biomes and a reduction of 29% since 1970. It's a really large loss in our bird biodiversity. So major groups that we see affected by this are aerial insectivores, grassland birds, migratory birds. So they're ones that we have a focus on now. So aerial insectivores such as swifts, swallows, flycatchers have been decreased by 32%, and over 2 out of every 5 barn swallows are now missing from our ecosystems. These birds contribute greatly to pest management in the fields and meadows. Large contributing factors of their population loss is urbanization of fields and meadows, as well as pesticide use, which can kill or make their food toxic. So grassland birds here. Grassland birds include birds like sparrows, bobolinks, meadowlarks, and they have dropped by 53% since 1970. That's every 3 out of 4 meadowlarks are now gone. This is largely due to urbanization of the grassland and shrubs into suburbs and removal of trees and the introduction of cats to their biome. Migratory birds here. So migratory birds include birds like finches, hummingbirds, mourning doves, and robins. They've decreased by 28% since 1970, and 2 out of every 5 Baltimore Orioles are now missing. This is largely due to the loss of nesting areas, stopping points during migration. Birds have very particular navigation methods and resting stops that they like to visit, and helps them find their course. And also contributing factor is migration accidents with windows and buildings. Unfortunately, windows are the second largest contributor to bird death that we've caused. Up to 16 million or more birds are killed every year from just windows. And another large thing that we need to think about is the chemical and pesticide or herbicide use in our flowers and on our feeders. Hummingbirds are very, very susceptible to harsh chemicals, to pesticide use and soaps. So when that gets into their nectar feeders or on their flowers, it can make them quite sick. Another issue facing them is the mold and fungus that can grow inside unclean feeders. So they rely on those feeders a lot during their nesting stops on their way to their final points. All right, so 1 in 4 birds are now gone since 1970. So we've had a population drop of 29%, but it's not all bad news. Since 1970, we have seen some increases in woodpeckers, birds of prey, wetland, and wetland waterfowl on the upwards trend. This is because of targeted conservation efforts and people putting conscious thought into how they can make their habitats and their ecosystems and their foods and everything better. So because it's worked so well for these types of birds, we can possibly think about helping out our field insectivores and migratory birds as well. So some major bird mortality causes in Canada include habitat loss. Habitat loss and climate change is a large contributing factor, causing a 1,000-fold increase in global biodiversity extinctions. We can mitigate this by protecting key habitats that birds need to nest, feed, and migrate to, things like really important ponds during migration routes, and really important nesting trees. An example of this would be the great blue herons in Vernon. They like to nest particularly along the black cotton oats behind the Walmart. So that little chunk of trees, although it's not well maintained, is a protected area, and it's always under threat from possible building and reconstruction of the area and tearing down of those trees. Unfortunately, the great blue herons only like to nest in the black cottonwoods, and those are endangered tree species, at least in the area for them. So by preserving these spaces, these trees, we can at least give the herons some spots to nest. Another large cause is collisions with windows and buildings. So between 16 to 42 million birds die annually in Canada due to colliding with windows. I know I said 16 million, but that is on the low side. 16 to 42 million birds die annually in Canada every year. And these are just collisions with windows that are caused by the birds seeing reflections in the windows, and it's deceiving them into thinking that there are trees and skies out there and clouds when there aren't. And they're going straight for them and having head-on collisions with the windows. And a lot of times it is fatal, or at least stunning enough that another predator can get to them in time, or injuring their wings or making them more vulnerable. So this can be helped by decorating and having window covers to reduce the reflection, and placing bird feeders, houses, and baths at least 2 meters away from your window. We're going to discuss a few ways that you can cover your windows in DIY projects and stuff like that, to make them much safer for your backyard visitors. And lastly, cats. So bird collisions is the second largest contributing factor. The first is cats. Unsupervised outdoor and feral cats are the #1 human cause of bird death in Canada, killing between 100 to 350 million birds annually. So that is a much larger number than the 16 to 42 million birds annually, roughly at least twice to 3 times larger. Cats are very prolific killers. Surprisingly, cats can reproduce at a rate of 1 to 3 litters per year. And because of the exponential rate of growth, kittens having kittens and their kittens having kittens at breeding age, after just 5 years without intervention from predators or people going in to spay and neuter or adopt these cats, you can end up with 11,000 cats from one unspayed female after 5 years. So again, after 5 years without intervention, there with exponential growth of kittens having kittens and kittens having kittens at breeding age, it is possible to have 11,000 cats in one area from one female that isn't spayed. So as the famous Bob Barker once said, his famous words, "Always remember to spay and neuter your pets," is a very, very important message. And even he knew it. He would say it after every game show. He was the best. It has a very powerful message, and it helps to control feral populations, disease, unwanted pets, stray pets, and pests. So cats, let's go into cats a little bit more. So why are cats contributing so high to the mortalities in communities? And how can we help to keep birds and cats safe at the same time? Well, first, there are 8 to 9 million cats that live in Canadian homes. So housed cats. Every 1 in 3 household has at least one indoor-outdoor pet cat. But it is reported at least that organizations like the SPCA and humane societies have put a lot of conscious effort into early spay and neuter programs. So this helps with the adoption of pets already being sterile, and it stops unwanted breeding and things getting out of control, which is really, really nice. Self-reported rates of sterilization have climbed from 80 to 94% in the last 5 years. And this is greatly due to organizations and programs for spaying and neutering and making sure that pets are spayed and neutered before they go out. However, there are still 1.4 to 4.2 million stray cats and feral cats in Canada. They are causing a large issue on the wildlife population because they tend to hunt more and they're more wildish. A lot of groups have tried to mitigate this by having trap and release programs with sterilization methods. And a lot of places have also tried to capture and tame these pets, and it's making a dent, but unfortunately 1.4 to 4.2 million stray cats is a lot. But we can definitely make a difference by making sure that our own pets are spayed and neutered. So in the USA, mostly feral cats, it is estimated that outdoor roaming cats can kill 1.3 to 4 billion birds annually, and 6.3 to 22.3 billion mammals annually. So those are billions and not millions. So they are killing billions of birds and billions of mammals, as well as going after our reptilians and amphibians. They are very prolific killers that are of all small animals. anything small that moves. It doesn't matter if it's a snake, a lizard, a frog, a mouse, chipmunk, baby rabbit. They are very, very prolific at adapting their hunting to many different animals. So outdoor unsupervised cats, I'm gonna cut there, Renee. Thanks. It's still recording, I can't tell. All right. Unsupervised outdoor cats have many different dangers that they have to worry about. Not only is your female friend causing feline, not female. Cut there, sorry. Unsupervised outdoor cats face many dangers. Not only is your feline friend causing lots of amounts of possible damage to ecosystems and wildlife, they are also being put at extreme danger themselves. These include trauma or infection from cat bites, injury or death from wildlife like coyotes, raccoons, or possibly just neighborhood dogs, getting lost, trauma and death from vehicles. We all know cars are a big issue for cats that are free roaming. Diseases and parasites passed from wildlife or from the environment. So this includes fleas. I have my pointer. So this includes fleas, rabies, worms ingested that can infect your cat. I'm gonna stop it here so I can have my pointer back. So unsupervised cats face many outdoor dangers. Not only is your feline friend causing a large amount of possible ecological damage and wildlife damage, they could also be putting themselves at extreme danger. So these dangers include trauma or infection from cat fights, or death or injury caused by wildlife or other animals like dogs or coyotes, raccoons. Getting lost, trauma or death from vehicles. We all know that vehicles are a large issue when it comes to outdoor kitties. Parasites, so things like fleas, ticks, and worms being passed from wildlife or the environment. Things like cat scratch fever, heartworm, fleas, and ticks. Also ingesting toxins through eating poison, like possibly poisoned mouse, a mouse that's eaten rodent side, or drinking antifreeze, or possibly just getting into contact with other toxic materials. And unwanted pregnancy. So if your cat is unspayed, or even if they're unneutered, they are contributing to unwanted pregnancy. And it is very important to get that looked after, because that is actually also a health issue for your animal, possibly. Not only is possible pregnancy or fighting due to looking for mates an issue, you can also, with an unneutered male or unspayed female, face ovarian and reproductive system issues that can actually be life-threatening. So one of the things that your cats can run into are zoonotic diseases. So these are diseases that can be passed from animals to people. this is not only really an issue to your bank accounts, but it's also a very large risk to us. So diseases like T. gondii can have a great health issues, effects to people with immunodeficient issues and pregnant women, to children, causing possible birth defects in unborn children as well. So it's also known as toxoplasmosis. So as a cat is feeding on or fighting a mouse, gets scratched or bitten or ingests any of the mouse, it can take out the toxoplasmosis or T. gondii, in which case that can be passed through their cat litter box, or even through your sheets or bedding to us. Unfortunately, a lot of their activities around our house, on our couch, and on our carpets, and in our bed can often mean that these things can be easily passed to us. So a really good way to avoid this is to keep your cat from attacking small prey like mice, keeping them indoors and keeping them vaccinated. Another worrisome one I ran into was tapeworms caused by fleas. So there is a possible transmission of tapeworms from fleas to your cat. This begins when the tapeworm eggs are swallowed by a flea, which then jumps onto your pet, or gets has takes up residence on your pet, and with possible ingestion of the flea through grooming or just through blood transfusion, they can put uh, tapeworm a tapeworm into your cat's gastrointestinal tract. And the way that tapeworms reproduce is that each one of these segments contains millions of eggs, and those get shed off into the fecal matter of the cats. And it can also just get shed off into the environment itself, so in your on your carpets or on your furniture and your bedding. So it can be kind of a household issue as well, not just a nuisance. Fleas can be seen as just a nuisance, but they can actually cause larger issues. Same with ticks. If your cat contracts ticks and brings it into your house, there is a possibility that you could contract diseases by coming into contact with ticks that have jumped off your pet. So ways that we can mitigate this and think about it a little bit more is when we keep our cats inside, we don't have going to the bathroom outside. And although a lot of people see this as a bonus, their cat is using the outside bathroom instead of the inside bathroom, so there's not so much litter box cleaning and it seems nice. But if you really think about it, the cat is going to the bathroom somewhere in the neighborhood, and this might be under a porch and by somebody's house. It could be in a sandbox that belongs to somebody's kids. It could be in a neighbor's garden. So when they're digging up plants and things like that, they might be actually exposing um, your neighbors and the neighborhood children and everybody around to possible biohazards that can be picked up through cat going to the bathroom in places that we would rather be able to get into. It's not nice when you go into a sandbox and there's always clumps. You feel like you're playing in a big litter box. It's not nice. And I know nobody's grandma loves her tulips being dug up by a cat that wants to go to the bathroom. I know that. So we can make BC a safer place for cats and birds. We've discussed a lot of different issues, but let's focus on their solutions now. I'd like to bring you to the thought of One Health. So One Health works by attaining an optimal health goal for people, animals, wildlife, and the environment, so that we all share an optimal One Health together, that nobody's harming one another. We're not just being kind of selfish, just thinking about humans and our pets and things like that. But we're also thinking of possible environmental concerns and wildlife concerns while we're doing our activities. So this makes the connection between pets, wildlife, and the ecosystem's health all at once. where everybody is kind of nice and happy. So you can do your part by working with communities and municipalities, or even just on your own, helping out at home. Like, say, when you're doing recycling for getting rid of plastics and stuff like that, you're taking um, an environmental and people and wildlife stance towards a really good goal, because they won't have to deal with issues of plastic. The environment gets a helping hand, and people get more items and facilities down the road. It's kind of just like this nice system. I think I might cut that out, Renee. So now I'm going to bring you the idea of One Health. So One Health works to obtain an optimal health for people, animals, and the environment, to make a connection between pets, people, and wildlife, as well as the ecosystem, so that we can all have an optimal health and everybody's happy. So you can do your part just by doing good things at home, like planting native plants, making sure that you recycle, making sure that you clean your bird feeders and keeping your pets inside. We can also work with communities and municipalities on local cat and wildlife welfare concerns, like if there's colonies of feral cats, or the municipality rules of keeping cats outside. Things like early age sterilization for pets being mandatory within an area. So we can engage pet owners against free roaming cats for the betterment of the environment, the wildlife, and even ourselves in a health wise way. So we can do this through promoting public education, spreading the word, and providing resources and achieve these goals. So I do understand some people do not love the idea of confining their kitty to the indoors. They say their cat is a free spirit and likes to go outside for stimulation and exercise. Otherwise, they go crazy. I do sympathize with some cats that just love to be outside. I really, really do, because I've known some that just need it. But there are some ways that you can keep your cat happy and exercised and stimulated indoors, possibly by including climbing perches, so cat scratch perches, catios, so enclosed spaces outside of a window or door that your cat can go outside freely to just look around outside and watch things and smell some fresh air. We all know cats love windows. Access to a window watching perch is another good idea, because as long as they can look outside of windows, they just love to watch the world roll by. They really do, especially when it comes to older ages. But we can give them more active toys for younger cats and more active kitties, things like cardboard boxes, cat toys, and scratch posts, to kind of get them moving around the house. I like to give my cats cat TV. So if you go onto YouTube, you Google cat TV, it's a live stream of birds at a bird feeder, and they just love watching them for hours and hours. Just have to make sure that they don't try and jump at the TV. And you can also possibly train your cats to enjoy walking on a leash or a harness. There are also methods of cat proofing your yard, so your cat can stay enclosed in your yard where it's safe. So here's some methods I wanted to show you, some roller bars. I've also seen people achieve this with PVC pipe for cheap, a nice easy DIY, having a PVC pipe that rolls on top. So you can modify existing structures to create a kind of escape proof of your yard. That way your pet is kind of contained within your own space. One thing that people have brought up is the comment, treat cats like dogs. Although we don't need to take this literally. I mean, they're not going to go get your newspaper. It's a good idea in theory, just keeping, like with dogs, we don't allow them to leave our yard to go attack and kill squirrels, chase cars, and go into our neighbors' gardens and dig around. Go to the bathroom wherever they please and chase deer through the forest. Same idea with cats is that we probably shouldn't be allowing them complete freedom to do whatever they want throughout the neighborhood, because they can cause damage to not just like the wildlife, but also our neighbors' structures, our neighbors' yards. They can get hurt themselves, come into lots of contact with danger, like broken glass, get stuck somewhere. And it's just kind of an overall better idea of, like dogs, we keep them under supervised standards. So these are some really cool catios I found. So you can have them hooked up outside of a window, or you can even have them outside of like a full door, so you can go inside and visit them as well. Catios are a method of giving your cat outdoor time without them being able to leave the yard or a safety area. These can be made from a small outdoor chicken coop, which you can easily purchase from Amazon online. It's a nice little easy kit. And if you hook that up to a window, I think it would work really perfectly. But you can also build them yourselves using shelving brackets and chicken wire. So that way, the cats can go to the outside, see everything on the outside, and have lots of different perches to view and have fun, and maybe even reach the grass and the dirt to dig around. But they're not in danger from predators. They're not in danger from dogs or fleas or bothering other people's yards and gardens and sandboxes. And they also cannot go around catching birds and bats and chipmunks and stuff like that. So there are some easy DIY ideas online. I believe the SPCA has some up on their website. Another thing that I've taken to is supervised outdoor time and leash walking. So some cats are brave enough, they're intuitive enough and curious enough to love the exercise and outdoor stimulation more than anything. So they take to leashes very, very well. My cat Gem, she's a very brave cat. She's not scared of motorcycles or skateboards or loud children or even a dog on a leash. And I think that makes her brave enough and she's curious enough that she's quite enjoyed leash walking to different environments with me. It's kind of a nice bonding time with us together, and I can make sure that she's not stepping on neighborhood glass or rusty piece of metal or getting into somebody's rodent side. So we're going to go back to birds here next. We've talked about a lot of ways to help birds through the environment and watching our pets and treating our windows. So we're going to get touch on to planting native plants and naturescaping your yard next, but we'll touch on a few other simple actions you can do to help out birds in your backyard and make it a lovely environment. So we've talked about keeping cats indoors, and now we're going to talk about native plants and window safety. But other things that you can do is to drink shade grow coffee, because this it encourages biodiversity within forests, so things aren't monocropped and birds can make a habitat out of a farm essentially. You can also reduce your plastic use through recycling. Recycling is another good example of something that wasn't so popular, say in like the 50s or 60s, but we've adopted it to now being a pretty regular practice in our household. For everybody understands it's for the better. Everybody's got a recycling bin basically in their house now, and every garbage can in the mall has a recycling bin next to it. So it's a really good example of something that we've taken on as citizens as it's shot off in a way that it's now a way of life. You can also do citizen science, so keeping track of birds that visit your bird feeder or backyard, or you can join the Christmas bird count and help get numbers for conservation efforts and understanding where birds are migrating and moving to. So doing citizen science and citizen observations and keeping track of things is a major way that we've been able to keep track of species of birds, mostly in game, say like deer and turkeys and stuff. It's through the hunting. Hunters keep track of stuff like that. But with backyard birds, it's more about citizen science and people reporting things as a hobby when they go bird watching. And also just avoid pesticides and harsh chemicals. So hummingbirds are particularly susceptible to harsh chemicals and pesticides. When you spray your flowers with a harsh pesticide, it could potentially make a hummingbird sick because they are very fragile little creatures. As well as when you wash out your bird feeder, your hummingbird feeder, you don't want to use really, really, really harsh chemicals when you do so, or even soap. You just use vinegar and water. That way it's a nice natural clean that won't accidentally make their nectar toxic. So we're going to go on to naturescaping and native plants. So backyard naturescaping tips. So planting only native plants in your garden. So don't go after something that's really exotic and doesn't really contribute to the environment as much and to our species. Remove weeds and invasives and properly dispose of the seeds so that way they don't spread. So invasive weeds are a large issue here in BC. They can choke out native plants and get rid of providing plants that our wildlife depends on. Plant perennials and nectar-bearing flowers. So for things like butterflies, hummingbirds, and nectar-eating animals like bees. This can really help liven up your garden with lots of different species. You can also offer nesting materials in your garden, so things like straw, dry grass, and pet fur, even dry leaves, that things like chipmunks and birds can make use of when building their nests for breeding season. So when you go to do your spring brush off of your pets, you can take the fur and actually throw it outside, and the birds might actually, or squirrels or chipmunks might actually come and collect it and use it for the nest to make it nice and cozy. They also like dry straw, grass, and even dry leaves. So you can also create a small garden pond or provide a regular clean bird bath to help birds stay hydrated. You need to clean it every 1 to 3 days, depending on how popular your bird bath is. Unfortunately, still stagnant water can get full of bacteria and get scummy very, very easily. Birds are very susceptible to getting diseases and viruses from regularly visited areas, things like bird baths, bird feeders, and things like that. Things like avian pox can spread very easily if not properly cleaned and maintained. So if you do keep a bird bath or any bird facility, including the feeder, um, it's a good idea to keep up with cleaning of it regularly if you want your backyard visitors to stay healthy. Next, we're going to go on to how to treat your windows. So window treatment, like I said, windows kill 16 to 42 million birds annually in Canada because they collide with windows because being mistaken by all these nice reflections here. So what we can do is to cover them. It's best to focus during nesting time, like migration and nesting periods, like especially during the spring when birds are most active and most at risk of hitting windows. Um, these window collisions are caused by the bird seeing the reflections, like I said, and it's just if you have cut there.